Ever feel like we're kind of, I don't know, stuck? Like trying to grow the economy, but also like save the planet?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a tough one.
Mm.
But that's exactly what this book, Natural Capitalism, is all about.
Right.
And we're diving deep into it today.
It's a good one for sure.
It really is, and it's surprisingly optimistic.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Going in, I thought it might be another kind of doom and gloom eco manifesto,
Oh, totally.
but it's not like that at all.
No, not at all.
It's very solutions oriented, very real world.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking.
It does.
Like, it doesn't shy away from the problem, right?
Not at all. Right from the start, they're like, look, we've been looking at the economy and the environment as these two separate things,
Right.
when in reality, one totally lives inside the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, we built this whole house, but forgot to check if the foundation was even stable.
Exactly. And the book has this really, it's almost like a jarring image, but it helps drive the point home.
What's that?
They talk about how we treat the planet like this bank account we can just keep withdrawing from.
Yeah. Makes it.
But it's not like that at all, really. It's more like, they say, a 3.8 billion-year-old trust fund.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, trust fund. We can't just keep spending like there's no tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we've been doing.
Mm.
But, like I said, the book isn't all doom and gloom.
Right.
It offers this whole new lens to view things through. And that's where natural capitalism comes in.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. What makes natural capitalism different from, well, just regular capitalism?
At its core, it's about recognizing that nature isn't just some pretty backdrop.
Right, it's not just there for a nice Instagram picture.
Exactly. Those resources, those systems, we take them for granted.
Clean air, water, all that good stuff.
All of it. Those are valuable forms of capital, too.
Interesting. So just like we invest in financial capital, we need to invest in, like, the health of our environment.
Exactly. That's what natural capitalism is all about. It's a whole new way of looking at things.
So we're talking about investing in natural capital, looking at nature as a form of capital itself. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a whole different way of thinking about it.
It is. It is. But how do we actually, like, how do we make that shift happen? We've talked about efficiency, but what are some of the concrete things we can do?
Well, the book lays out some really interesting strategies. One of the most fascinating, I think, is this idea of radical resource productivity.
Radical resource productivity, that sounds kind of intense.
It kind of is in a good way, though.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where, like, instead of constantly trying to get more and more and more,
Right, always needing more.
right, we actually become, like, incredibly efficient with what we already have.
So kind of like Marie Kondoing our entire industrial system.
Exactly. Decluttering, but on a planetary scale.
Love it. Less is more. Right?
Exactly. And the book talks about this group, the Factor 10 Club, and they're advocating for, get this, a tenfold increase in resource efficiency.
Tenfold. That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It does, right. I mean, think about that. Achieving the same or even better results while using, like, 90% less resources.
Wow, 90%. That's almost hard to wrap your head around.
It is. It might seem impossible, but the book makes a compelling case, Like, it points out how much waste there is in our current systems.
Okay, yeah, give us an example.
Okay, so did you know that in the U.S., only about 6% of the materials that are used in the economy actually end up in finished products?
Wait, 6%? So it's like we're throwing a party for 100 people and only 6 people show up?
It's kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
The other 94% is, well, essentially wasted.
Wow, that's a lot of waste. What's going on with the other 94%?
It's a whole mix of things. Inefficient processes, products that don't last, you name it. But here's the thing, all that waste actually represents a huge opportunity.
Okay, I'm listening.
So by really focusing on radical resource productivity, by figuring out how to get more out of less, companies can dramatically reduce their environmental impact.
Right, which is good for everyone, obviously.
Exactly. But they can also save money, potentially create new jobs,
Now that's what I call a win-win.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to decouple economic growth from resource consumption, which is a big theme in natural capitalism.
So it's not about shrinking the economy, it's about growing it smarter.
Exactly. Working with nature, not against it.
I like it. So are there actually companies out there, like real-world examples of this radical resource productivity in action?
Absolutely. And the book highlights some really inspiring cases.
Yeah.
Companies that are kind of leading the way.
Like who? Give us some names.
Sure. So one area where we're seeing a lot of innovation is in biomimicry.
Biomimicry, that's like taking inspiration from nature, right?
Exactly. It's
Ah,
basically looking to nature for design solutions.
hmm.
Like nature has already spent billions of years figuring out how to do things efficiently and sustainably.
Right, like that whole thing with Velcro being inspired by those little burrs that stick to your clothes.
Exactly. But it goes way beyond Velcro. Like the book talks about how spiders spin silk that's, get this, stronger than steel, and they do it at room temperature.
No way! Stronger than steel? That's insane. And here we are with our giant factories and all this energy.
Right. It's incredible. Or how about abalone shells? They're incredibly tough, much tougher than any ceramic we can manufacture, and they do it in seawater at low temperatures.
Wow, nature is amazing. We really do have a lot to learn, don't we?
We do. And biomimicry is really starting to take off. There are buildings now that are designed to breathe like plants,
Yeah.
using photosynthesis to generate energy.
Buildings that breathe. That's wild. I love it.
Right. And imagine industrial parks that are designed as closed loop ecosystems.
Okay, break that down for me.
So instead of having all this waste, one company's waste becomes another company's raw material, just like in nature.
Ah, so it's like that saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure, but applied to like entire industries.
Exactly. It's about creating these closed loops, these circular systems where resources are constantly being reused and repurposed.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got radical resource productivity, biomimicry, both super cool, both really promising. What else does natural capitalism have up its sleeve?
Well, the book also challenges us to rethink the very foundation of our economy.
Ooh, okay, this is getting deep.
Right. Like, what if instead of a product-based economy, we shifted to more of a service and flow model?
Service and flow. Now I'm really intrigued. What does that even mean?
So instead of, say, buying a washing machine,
All right,
you're actually paying for a laundry service.
right.
So you get your clothes cleaned,
Yeah.
but the manufacturer actually owns the machine, maintains it, and then ultimately takes it back to recycle or repurpose its components.
Interesting. So it's like instead of owning a washing machine, you're subscribing to clean clothes. Kind of like Spotify or Netflix, but for, physical goods.
Exactly. And what's cool about this model is that it incentivizes manufacturers to design products that last longer.
Right, because it's in their best interest to make something durable and easy to repair.
Precisely. And easier to recycle, too. The book calls this cradle-to-cradle design, where products are designed from the very beginning with their entire life cycle in mind.
Cradle to cradle, I like the sound of that. So it's not just about using less stuff, it's about rethinking how we use stuff.
Exactly. It's a whole new way of thinking about production and consumption.
Okay, so are there companies actually doing this? Like, is this really happening or is it just a cool idea?
It's happening. The book talks about Interface, a company that makes carpet tiles.
Okay, I've heard of them.
So they've actually embraced this model, right? Instead of just selling carpets, they lease floor covering services.
So they're basically like the Netflix of carpets.
Exactly. They own the carpets, they maintain them, and then they take them back at the end of their life cycle to be recycled and turned into new carpets.
That's amazing. It's like they've closed the loop completely.
They have. And it's not just them. There are other companies out there doing really innovative things with this service and flow model.
That's really encouraging to hear, that it's not just some pie in the sky idea.
It's real, and it's gaining traction.
So we've talked about making things more efficient, rethinking how we design and use products. What about the bigger picture, like the health of the planet itself?
Right, so that's where the fourth and final strategy of natural capitalism comes, in investing in natural capital.
Okay, so this is where we go beyond just minimizing our impact and actually start trying to restore and regenerate the environment.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that a healthy planet is the foundation for everything else.
Right, like you said earlier, it's all connected.
It is. We can't have a healthy economy or a just society without a healthy planet. So we need to invest in things like protecting forests.
Which are super important for absorbing carbon dioxide, right?
Exactly. And for so many other reasons. We need to invest in restoring wetlands.
Those are important too, aren't they? For filtering water, preventing floods.
They are. And cleaning up polluted rivers, all of these things.
Right, and these are all things that, I don't know, they don't always have a clear and immediate return on investment.
That's true, and that's often why they get pushed aside, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like we're so focused on the short term, we forget about the long-term consequences.
Exactly. But neglecting these things is like neglecting the foundation of our house.
Oh.
We might not see the cracks right away, but eventually the whole thing could crumble.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just about, preventing some kind of environmental disaster.
Right. It's not just about saving the planet for the planet's sake. It's
Yeah.
about, our own well-being, our own prosperity.
Exactly. Investing in natural capital can have huge economic and social benefits.
So it's not this either thing. It's about seeing the connections, the interdependencies.
Precisely. And that's really what natural capitalism is all about.
It's about realizing that we're not separate from nature. We're a part of it.
We are. And that's something that we often forget, I think.
That's like we've been told this story, that it's either jobs or the environment.
Yeah, like we have to choose.
Right, like it's this zero-sum game.
Exactly. But natural capitalism, it's like it flips the script on that.
It does. It says we can have both. It does. It shows that it's not about choosing one or the other.
Right, because a healthy environment actually leads to a healthy economy.
Exactly. It's the foundation.
It is. It's like you can't eat money.
That's a good way to put it. We need clean air, clean water. We need a stable climate.
All of that.
All of it.
Yeah.
You can't put a price tag on that.
No, you really can't. And I think this book does a great job of highlighting that.
It really does. And you know what I found really encouraging?
What's that?
Is that we're already seeing this shift happening.
We are.
Yeah. Like all around us, businesses are starting to get it.
Oh, really?
They're realizing that sustainability isn't just good PR.
Right. It's not just about looking good.
It's about, their bottom line.
It makes sense. Long term. Anyway.
Exactly. It's about long-term thinking.
Mm.
And the book has all these examples of companies that are embracing these principles.
Like it's actually happening. It's not just theoretical.
It's not theoretical at all. It's becoming very, very real.
Wow. That's pretty exciting. It's like we're on the cusp of something big here.
I think so, too.
Like a new industrial revolution. But this time, we're doing it with, our eyes wide open.
Exactly. We have the knowledge, we have the technology to do it right this time.
And I think books like Natural Capitalism are so important because they're helping to spread that knowledge.
They're getting people thinking differently.
Yeah, getting us all on the same page.
Exactly.
So for our listeners out there, people who are, who are intrigued by this idea of natural capitalism.
Ooh, they want to make a difference.
What's a one big takeaway? What's the one thing they can do?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. We're not just along for the ride.
We have a say in how this all plays out.
Exactly. We have agency. And every decision we make, every action we take, it matters.
It all adds up.
It really does. So, ask yourself, what can I do in my own life, in my own work, to make these principles more mainstream?
I love that because it starts with each of us, right?
It does. Every little bit makes a difference.
So well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into natural capitalism.
That's been a good one.
It really has. Such a thought-provoking book. And for everyone listening, we hope you'll join us again next time for another deep dive. Until then.